Hello, people of the internet. Ian Altosaar, the Freedom Astrologer, once again here, and we're doing another series in our How to Read a Birth Chart video. And this time, remember, guys, in the last video we talked about, or we finished kind of talking about the signs and the houses. We kind of combined those two, and I showed you how it works when you do combine those two and what this mean in real life and material experience and internal experience as well. And now we're taking on a bigger subject, I would say a very important subject of planets and influences in the chart, and what do they mean and what do they represent. And it's going to be quite a long series going forward, or even the videos might be a little bit longer. But before we go into the specific meanings of planets and kind of luminaries and influences in the chart, I want to talk about a really important topic that we're going to need to understand when we're going to move into this topic. And this topic is called rulership. Now, when you listen to astrological analysis or kind of natal chart analysis, or maybe an astrologer talking about something on my channel as well, I talk about this a lot. Rulership is very important, first and foremost, and you're going to hear this word. It rules. This planet rules this house, and this sun rules that house, and da 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 da. And at first it can be confusing when you don't really understand what it means, what is what. Like, it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to make this as easy as I possibly can, and we're going to dissect house or planetary joy in houses as well in the end of the video. So let's immediately go into what the rulership actually means. So rulership, in my own words, or in how I understand it and how I use this, whenever there's a relationship between a sign. Now, it's important that we know the signs. We learned the signs in previous videos. If it's the first video you're watching, go back and look at those sign videos. What sign has a close, intimate relationship with a planet or a luminary? By luminary, I mean sun or moon. Now, this relationship is one of representation. So let's say a planet represents a sign. So that communication and representation, or a rulership, is actually a really close, I would say, relationship between the two. So the two have very similar qualities, similar energies that tie them or hold them together. And we can, the ancient used the word lord of the house, lord of that house, lord of this house. And we can take that also into the modern kind of astrology. It kind of is still that influence, that planet, that luminary has that rulership or lordship over that house where that sign is. And I'm going to demonstrate it in a second for you also, so it kind of ties in. But basically what it means, if you think about monarchs or kings or kind of like people in power, that influence, that planet, that luminary has that influence over that house. Now let's talk about the different schools first and foremost of thought, and I will explain the actual rulerships. Now, most often there are, in my mind, in my experience, what I've seen online, what I've seen in different kind of discussions, is there are two main schools of thought. One is the ancient kind of traditional approach to rulership, which is only we use Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So the more traditional kind of influences or planets or luminaries in the chart, because this is one of the reasons is that during ancient times they didn't know that Uranus, Neptune, Pluto even existed. So they assigned rulerships to these planets over certain signs. And some planets rule multiple signs. Now this is the more ancient approach, more traditional approach, and to this day some astrologers still abide by that school of thought. Now I think it's fine personally, but I think it kind of has a hole in it. And this brings me to the kind of more modern approach, which is another more popular approach. Most likely there might be, other ones that I don't know of, but these are the most common ones. The more modern one is that these outer planets, as we call them, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, also rule the signs. And, there've been discussions that I've been kind of observing and even been part of some that, traditional school says, no, they don't rule. And the modern school says, yeah, they do. So it's kind of like a debate. But I'm going to give you my perspective on it as well. Is what I've seen is literally after seeing a lot of charts, after looking at charts, after looking at predictions, after looking at kind of from the future to the past and kind of dissecting and trying to predict those during my exams, for example, trying to predict those events. And in my schooling, when I took classes in astrology, is the modern planets still rule what they're assigned to. So we're going to get, in a minute, we're going to talk about that. But still, the modern, more Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, the outer planets still have rulership over the signs that they have been assigned to. But in a weird way, and I can't really explain it. Why is that? I don't have a logical explanation. All I have basically to give you is I've observed different kinds of charts, different kinds of predictions, and still some signs basically have, with the combination of modern and traditional rulership, they have two rulers. Now I hope that makes sense, and if it doesn't, don't worry. We're going to get into it right now. I'm going to literally say what rules what and where it all comes to kind of play. And let's dive into it. So let's start from the beginning. Let's start from Aries. Aries, remember, is a very aggressive kind of initiative sign, and it's ruled by the planet Mars. So remember, guys, I'm going to do obviously a separate video on Mars, but everything the sign Aries represents, you can go already back. The planet Mars also represents. So this is very important for you to understand. These two, I'm showing Mars and Aries are connected. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's go on and take on. If you don't know the symbols, I did also a video about symbols. Go back and look at that video. Now we're going to move forward and take Taurus, the second sign. Taurus is ruled by the planet Venus right here. So remember, again, these two have similar qualities. Go back and look at the Taurus video. You will start to get an idea of what Venus represents in the world, in our chart, in our birth charts. Next one, Gemini. Gemini, the sign of Gemini is ruled by, or lordship has Mercury. So the planet Mercury and the sign Gemini are very, very closely connected, or Mercury rules Gemini. And we can go even further here. We can say, to illustrate this point, Mercury rules the third house. And this is how we kind of talk and understand what is the ruler or the lord of the house. We look at the house, we look at the sign, and we know, Mercury, here it is. Mercury is the lord of this house. And in the future videos, I'm going to talk about how to kind of start dissecting it and what does it mean. But hopefully it makes sense to you. Let's move forward. Now, Cancer, the sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon. Moon is, a symbol that everybody kind of understands immediately. So Cancer and Moon are very similar energy, connected intimately, and Moon rules over Cancer. Next one, Leo. Leo, most likely most can guess what Leo is represented by already, even if you don't know a lot about astrology, but Leo is represented by the Sun. Again, very intimate connection. Sun rules Leo. Virgo. Again, this is where it gets interesting, guys, because there are theories out there that we're going to discover more influences in our solar system in some shape or form, and they are going to switch the rulership game up, so to speak. So far, those theories haven't really played out. So where it gets a little bit confusing is, remember I told you the ancients assigned, 2 rulerships, or some planets 2 rulerships, meaning rulerships over 2 signs. And Virgo is one of those signs. Virgo is also ruled by the planet Mercury, right here. And this means also that the sign of Gemini that we just talked about and the sign of Virgo both are intimately interconnected to the sign planet Mercury. Both are mercurial, we can say that as well. Now, and in this case, Mercury rules the 3rd and the 6th house. Now let's move onwards and take on the 7th house in this case, and the sign of Libra. And Libra again is one of those signs. Now we're going to kind of repeat ourselves. I'm not going to repeat ourselves, but Libra is also ruled by, or lordship over Libra has the planet Venus. Remember, just now Venus also ruled over Taurus. It also rules over Libra. So Libra also is intimately connected, also has those Venusian qualities. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, guys. We're at the sign of Scorpio now. Scorpio by ancient was represented or ruled over by the planet Mars. We talked about Mars. Mars also rules over Aries. But now the modern school came in and discovered the planet Pluto, and so the planet Pluto has more even those scorpionic qualities. So the sign of Scorpio, as of now, as of kind of like this modern astrological viewpoint, has 2 rulership planets, Mars and Pluto. And I know for a lot of traditional astrologers this can be quite triggering. No, it only has 1 ruler. But having checked a bunch of charts, a lot of charts, I'm quite convinced that, even more than quite convinced as of now, I would need some serious proof or proof that it was not true. So as of now, Pluto and Mars both rule Scorpio. Let's go onwards. Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is ruled, the sign of Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, right here. There it is. And this means that they're very intimately connected again, and they have the same qualities. Capricorn, the sign of Capricorn. So the sign of Capricorn currently is in the 10th house in our example, and is ruled by the planet Saturn. Remember, Capricorn is kind of those difficult things as well, the time and kind of blockages. This means that the planet Saturn has the same qualities as Capricorn. So again, at the danger of repeating myself, please go look at the Capricorn or sign videos to know what these signs kind of represent. You get a hint of what the planets represent as well. So I'm going to do a separate videos on all the planets, but for now, if you're anxious, go back and look at the sign videos so you know at least bits and pieces what these planets mean or represent. Now, let's move onwards to one of the most, let's say, confusing of the signs, which is Aquarius. And why is Aquarius confusing is because from those modern standards, it is ruled by two planets. Planet Saturn, the more traditional, kind of holding on to the past planet, remember, also Capricorn, and that innovative Uranus right here, the symbol of Uranus. So this is one of the reasons Aquarius is at times quite confusing. People don't get them at much because they are kind of like in conflict. They're constant in that traditional world and that innovative world all together. It's kind of combining. And so this is one of the reasons Aquarius is, you're kind of, it's like almost like you're in both worlds with one of those feet of yours, and you don't really know which is the right one. But kind of, I think the best way I can, give Aquarius some guidance, general guidance is it is good to have those 2 feet in those 2 camps and kind of to merge those 2 worlds of more traditional, more slow moving, and that very innovative kind of Uranian side of Aquarius. So this is when these 2 worlds merge, I think it's one of the best ways to channel that Aquarian energy in real world or real life. So take it slow at times and then move quickly and bring that innovation to that old kind of foundational space. Now we're at the last sign. So the last sign is Pisces, and Pisces is also ruled by 2 planets. One of those is right here, Neptune, right here. And the other one, the more traditional ruler of Pisces, is again Jupiter. We talked about Sagittarius. Sagittarius is also ruled by Jupiter. Neptune, or Pisces, but also Jupiter, Pisces. So again, anything that rules a sign, you can immediately see that there is a certain kind of connection between them, and that kind of energetic impulse or energetic similarity is there. Hope it makes sense, guys. Let me know if it doesn't, and I will do my best to make it even more clear. So let's talk about planetary joy as well to end this video, kind of wrap it up. So each of these influences, those planets that we mentioned right now, has a planet or has a house they feel more joy in, or they are more strong in. I wanted to bring this topic as well because it's quite important to understand where something is strong, where an influence is strong. In future videos we're going to bring in even more details of what does it mean to have a strong planet. But let's start with this because this is one of the most simple ones and easier ones. Planetary joy. Let's start with Mercury, because Mercury right here actually in truth loves the first house. So the planetary joy, whereas Mercury feels the happiest, is the first house. So Mercury is a lot to do with communication, speaking, spreading ideas out in the world, and the first house is a very public house. It's you speaking there, you communicating, you spreading those ideas. So it does very well in that active house, open house, and really likes it there. So basically what planetary joy means is where a planet enjoys themselves the most. And it's not always that the domicile houses or the home houses of the planet. It's very often the kind of mixture of the house meaning and the planet meaning. So let's move onwards, and let's take a look at the next one. Let's take a look Moon next. Moon's planetary joy is in the 3rd house. So why the 3rd house? Remember, 3rd house is a lot to do with communication, speaking, like Mercury, but it's also, when Moon goes there, the person is very intuitive, very, 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 let's say, good at communication first and foremost, but also very intuitive in their way of living their lives. And they kind of in everyday life, they pick up a lot of intuitions from the people they are getting into contact with. So it's a very, very intuitive position. Moon loves it there. They kind of know what to say. They know when to listen intuitively. So it's a very, very good position for the moon. And it's called also the high priestess position in astrology. So remember, guys, moon's planetary joy is in the 3rd house. And let's go onwards. Let's take Venus. Venus, the planet Venus, is in the 5th house. So remember, guys, Venus is a lot to do with romance and enjoyment and pleasure, and 5th house is a lot to do with fun and fun activities, kind of creative activities, and Venus is also a lot to do with art. So these two energies, they match, they really kind of enmesh together really well. So they bring Venus in the 5th, brings good things in romance, pleasurable things in romance, a lot of enjoyment in life, a lot of fun in life, a lot of creative abilities in life, a lot of abilities to create art in the world. So it's a good position to have Venus in, and it's the house of joy of Venus. Now let's move onwards and bring in Mars. The planet Mars. Remember, Mars is a bit of a, if you remember Aries, our Aries video, Mars isn't the easiest planets to handle. It's a lot to do with those aggressive things and initiative. But in this difficult house, 6th house, remember, guys, 6th house is a lot to do with problems. And what Mars likes to do in the 6th house is, why it's in its planetary joy there is, because it cuts straight to the chase, or cuts straight to the core of the problem and issue. It takes the problem on really initiatively and starts to solve the problem, and solves it quickly. And this is one of the, and it kind of, because remember, 6th house is also open enemies. And when Mars is there, you take on those enemies, you stare them directly to their face, and, kind of take them on, and not be, they're behind the scenes somehow scheming. No. Mars just goes and takes it really intensely. Like, let's go, let's solve these problems, let's do it. And these people are actually really good, who have Mars in the 6th house. These are really good and quick problem solvers in a lot of ways, in different areas. It doesn't only have to be crime or police or something like that. Even in corporate environments, these people are the people who you can go and they will solve and take the initiative head on, and they will solve that issue, whatever it is, really quickly. So Mars, house of joy, 6th house. And let's go we're at the sun. So sun, the luminary, the biggest one the biggest influence in our solar system, the sun, has its planetary joy in the 9th house, which is kind of intriguing, because remember, a 9th house is one of those houses where that higher wisdom, higher knowledge, that connection to those higher realms of existence comes. And sun is our natural talents, and these people are very, very natural teachers, natural born teachers. They can get naturally gifted in getting those ideas, wisdom, knowledge from those higher realms, and bringing that to the people here to be used in the material realm. So this position, sun in the 9th house, is also known as the high priest position, and these people can bring a lot of good knowledge. And actually, because it's a very lucky house, and sun is a lot to do with our career and what we create in the world, it is also usually good for the career and kind of vitality in life in general. So this is a really good position for the sun, the 9th house, able to bring a lot of important wisdom and knowledge into the world. Now let's take on Jupiter. Jupiter, in this example, even it's in its house of joy. So 11th house is Jupiter's house of joy. And especially in modern Western kind of type of astrology, because remember guys, 11th house is our salary, it's our economic gain. So wherever Jupiter goes into, kind of expands those and brings them easily, brings them luck, let's say. So it brings abundance of salary money quite easily, even if you work for a corporation, even if you create products in the open market, let's say. It brings those gains from those products that you create more easily. It brings bigger salaries quite easily. And it's a good place to have it because because remember, 11th house is the house of contacts and networks. So it brings abundance of those and brings an abundance and luck with friends and kind of higher-minded, very positive, optimistic friends usually as well. So very, very good position to have Jupiter in. So now let's take the last one. Remember guys, this planetary joy, we like it right now, or we use it from more of a traditional perspective. So yeah, we can start to assign the modern planets houses of joy as well. But right now, from a very traditional kind of point of view, we're using the more traditional, the ones that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So the last one, Saturn. Remember, Saturn and Capricorn have this connection, so it's not the easiest of planets. So this is one of the reasons why Saturn does really well in the 12th house. So Saturn's planetary joy is in the 12th house, quite important to understand. And whenever there's, kind of like difficult influences like Mars and Saturn and Pluto at times, we like them to be kind of hidden from us, and 12th house is the most hidden house there is in the chart, and it is, and one of the reasons Saturn does so well there is it's kind of being in solitude house as well, and Saturn kind of gives that I would say diligence. It's also one of the reasons is it's also to do with kind of being, not only just being in solitude, but being, how do I put this? What's the word I'm looking for? It's also because it's very much to do with research as well, being in solitude, being alone in solitude. So it's a very good position to do long-term kind of research in solitude, Saturn in the 12th. So you have the diligence to kind of work through it and go really deep into it and slowly move there as well. With Saturn, there's always kind of a negative side anyway, but, we like Saturn in the 12th. It kind of is kind of hidden from us. So the fears are sometimes there, at very least subconscious fears with the 12th house, with Saturn combination. There are subconscious fears there, but again, it's not so much in your face when it's, let's say, for example, it's in the first house, Saturn. It's very much in your face. All those difficulties, all those blockages, all those duties, responsibilities are there in your face. And we like at times for those, too much of those duties and responsibilities get dissolved. And this is again one of the reasons we like Saturn in the 12th house, because the 12th house dissolves anything it touches. So in this case, Saturn. So guys, that's it. We took a look at the rulership. We took a look at the planetary joy. I hope you got a lot out of this video. There is a bunch of I think that's the longest video of this series. But in the next ones, we're going to start looking at the actual meanings of the planets and the luminaries, the sun and the moon. What do they mean? What do they represent? How can we use them? All these things. It's going to be quite a long one, but stick it out, and I think you will learn a lot in the coming videos as well. Thank you very much for listening, watching. Like, subscribe, share this video, leave your comments. Thank you very much. Ian Altosaar, the Freedom Astrologer, out for now.